Low. Just want to make sure it works.
us will still be signing in people, because otherwise Laura would be telling us, she'd have to tell me some information.
So there's a few people just coming in. We have about 50 in person so far, and 60 some more. So there's a few people. When Laura and them come in, that's when we can start. Well, Laura, we have to wait for Laura to come in, right?
She's going to give you her count.
Because he's got to say it like quite quickly in the presentation, the count.
Okay.
So because he's up quickly. Neil,
Yes.
do you have your count?
No, I don't. I'm waiting for Laura, right?
So,
She'll have to tell me.
yeah.
But that's pretty early.
Okay. We're live.
That's pretty early in the agenda, so
Okay, I'm gonna.
you
It
start.
isn't.
Just so you know we're live.
I know. Do I have time to go to the washroom?
You want to go?
You're the chair.
Somehow I lost my annual report.
So we're going to get started. So welcome everyone, and welcome everybody online as well. For the FAQs or the question periods, for anybody that's online that wants to ask a question, you can email Joe Murphy at thornhillgcc.com. I wanted to get that out there. So Joe Murphy at thornhillgcc if you have a question for anybody that's watching live. Okay? So I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Michelle Randall, President of the Board and the Thornhill Club and Chair for this evening. I would like to introduce the other persons sitting at this table. We have Kevin Greer, who is our Finance Director and Treasurer. Neil Rogers, our Vice President and Secretary, Brenda Berry, our Governance Director, and Joe Murphy, our General Manager and COO. In the first row, we have other board members. We have Bruce Fleming, our Facilities Director. We have Paul Schultz, our Greens Director, Craig State Gardner, our Activities Director, and Neil McDonald, our Membership Director. Carolyn Wright, our Golf Director, and Vince Cascone, our Strategic Planning Director, are not here tonight. Additionally, I would like to introduce Lindsay McIntyre from our auditing firm of Grant Thornton, as well as Frank Callahan from our legal firm of BLG. Laura Howowitz will be taking the minutes of the meeting tonight, and Neil Rogers will act as the secretary of the meeting. With your consent, I would like to appoint Denzel Pinto from Grant Thornton to act as scrutineer for the meeting. If there are no objections, I declare him duly appointed. So Lindsay, sorry. With your consent, I would like to appoint Lindsay McIntyre from Grant Thornton to act as scrutineer for the meeting. Sorry about that. If there are no objections, I will declare him duly appointed. Thank you. At this time, I would like to advise the secretary that there is a quorum of members present in person and by proxy. Thank you. Mr. Secretary, please report on the notice of meeting.
Thank you, Michelle. Madam Chair, notice of this meeting has been duly given to all members entitled to receive notice, and the scrutineer has advised that a quorum of members is present. At this time, there are 52 members in attendance with voting rights, 1 member and guest in attendance with no voting rights, and 88 proxies have been received.
I declare the meeting to be duly constituted for the transaction of business as set out in the notice of meeting. May I please, I'm going to move this. May I please have a motion from the floor for the approval of the minutes of January 22nd, 2018 annual meeting and the dispensation of their reading? Lynn?
Madam Chair, I approve that the minutes of the last annual general meeting held on January 22nd, 2018 be approved and the reading dispensed.
Will someone please second that motion?
Madam Chair, I second the motion to approve the minutes.
May I have a show of hands? All in favor? All those opposed? Carried. We have I was going to ask you to put that up. So we're going to take a few minutes, or take a moment of silence to honor our memory of those who have passed away. So if you please stand. Mrs. Beverly Armstrong, Mr. Henry Ennis, Mr. Sid Gillespie, Mr. Bob Globitz, Mr. David Gurley, Miss Marjorie Harris, Mr. Richard Hinton, Mr. Joseph Magnotta, Miss Jean Morrison, Mr. John Parkinson, who, by the way, is a 66-year member, Mr. Joseph Pitts, Miss Cindy Thistle, and Mr. John Worster. Oh, sorry. And Mr. Ken Killer. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. Who's missing on my list? As part of the notice of meeting, you would have received a special resolution to approve the amended and restated bylaws of the club. The governance committee has been working for the past 18 months on reviewing the club's bylaws with a view to modernize them and ensure the compliance with the current legislation, the Corporations Act in Ontario, while also anticipating changes that will occur when the new legislation, the Not-for-Profit Corporations Act of 2010 in Ontario, comes into effect. As part of the meeting material, you would have received a black line version that outlines the proposed changes to the bylaw and a clean line version of the new amended and restated bylaws that we are seeking approval for this evening. The changes are largely a change in terminology and language. We prepared a list of of FAQs to explain our rationale for any of the substantive changes being proposed by the board. Brenda Berry, Governance Director, will provide some additional comments on the proposed amended and restated bylaws.
Thank you, Michelle. Good evening, everyone. I think Michelle has covered most of the material or my comments for this evening, but I did want to reiterate a few things. First, the Governance Committee is a relatively new committee. We were established by the board in 2017, and our focus from the time we were established till now has really been on governance best practices, and the review and revisions to our club bylaw was part of our focus in that direction. I want to emphasize that we did have very good legal input throughout our process, both from within our committee membership as well as by our club's own corporate lawyer, who's in attendance tonight. We also consulted other clubs who were willing to share both their process and some of their information to get a sense of what was a best practice within the sector. As Michelle said, the proposed bylaw is substantially the same as our current bylaw. The document that you have before you represents our best effort to modernize the wording, better organize the structural components, and ensure compliance with both the Ontario Corporations Act and, where possible, the pending Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. Our intention with the FAQ was to provide additional information as well as transparency for everyone as we move through this process, and expand upon some very important specifics related to the revisions and provide more detail. They were meant to be informative and to further your understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda, and thank you and your committee for all the work you did. So may I please have a motion that the amended and restated bylaw number 1 of the club restated bylaws be approved by and confirmed, such restated bylaws to replace the current bylaw 2-08. Tim?
Madam Chair, I move that the amended and stated general bylaw number 1 of the club, restated bylaw, be approved and confirmed, such restated bylaw to replace the current bylaw 2-08.
Thank you. Will someone please second that motion?
Madam Chair, I second the motion to approve the funding authorization.
Typo. Now we're going to open the floor for questions on the special resolution to amend the restated bylaws. If anybody has any questions, they can proceed to the microphone. No questions? Oh, we have one question.
Hi, it's Alan Mark. On the provisions around the wind-up and dissolution of the club, and I understand basically it's what was there before has been carried forward. But during this process, did we look at what best practices are around wind-up and dissolution? And obviously, there's many ways you can divvy up the pot if that were to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I guess my question is: Are we satisfied that what we've got is a reasonable wind-up provision?
Brenda or Lori, one of the two can probably answer that.
Well, the short answer to that is yes. We looked at the dissolution with a view for fairness and transparency. We changed very little. There was one clause that we removed, and in doing so, we had confirmation from our legal counsel that that by doing so that we were within current best practices within our sector.
Any other questions? Okay. In order for this special resolution to be effective, it must be approved by 2/3 of the votes cast in respect to the resolution. According to existing bylaw, Article 5.15, for the purposes of all votes or polls to be taken, only senior and intermediate members shall be entitled to vote and accepted as is provided for in Section 5.12. Each member shall have one vote, whether voting in person or in proxy. So can I have a show of hands for all in favor? Yep. The motion is carried and approved. Okay. So the next on the agenda is the supplementary letter patent to change the name of the club. So in May 2016, following a presentation to the members, the board approved a change to the name of the club from the Thornhill Golf and Country Club to the Thornhill Club, with a tagline, where golf is just the beginning. Golf is and continues to be the foundation and strength of the club, and this name change signals modernization and understanding of today's member and golfing families. The name change has triggered much interest in our club and has refreshed our brand in the marketplace. The name change has gradually taken place over the past 2 years in terms of our signage and collateral material. May I have a motion to authorize the club to make an application to the Lieutenant Governor of the Province of Ontario for supplementary letter patents to change the club's name from the Thornhill Golf and Country Club to the Thornhill Club, the supplementary letter patent. Adrian?
Madam Chair, I move to authorize the club to make application to the Lieutenant Governor of the Province of Ontario for supplementary letters patent to change the club's name from the Thornhill Golf and Country Club to the Thornhill Club.
May I please have someone to second that motion?
Madam Chair, I second the motion to change the name of the club.
Thank you. Now, the floor is also open for questions on this special resolution to approve the application for supplementary letter patent to change the name of the club. If anybody has any questions, please proceed to the microphone and state your name. No questions? In order for this special resolution to be effective, it must be approved by 2/3 of the votes cast in respect of the resolution. According to the existing bylaws, Article 5.15, for the purposes of all votes or polls to be taken, only senior and intermediate members shall be entitled to vote and expect as provided for in Section 5.12, each member shall have one vote, whether voting in person or in proxy. Can I have a show of hands who are all in favor? The motion is carried and approved. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to the financial area. The auditor's report, along with a notice of meeting information circular from form of proxy, and the financial statements were distributed by email and regular mail on January 6, 2019 to all holders of membership of record on that date. The auditor's report is a standard report that is based on general accepting auditing standards. Unless there's an objection, I will forgo the reading of the report. Okay. I would ask Kevin Greer, Treasurer and Chair of the Finance Committee, to provide some brief commentary on the financial results. Kevin?
All right. Thank you, Michelle. So in a moment, we'll review the financial highlights for fiscal year 18. But first, we'd like to ground you on the 3-year glide path that was presented about 2 years ago that was designed to return the Thornhill Club to financial sustainability. Incidentally, the model that was developed to support this 3-year plan was developed by Terry Bulger, and we had an omission in our annual report. We forgot to put her name in there, but I do want to acknowledge Terry and thank her for all her years of contribution on the Finance Committee. So this glide path consisted of increasing membership levels towards a positive result from operations, after having had 2 years of significant deficits. The plan was an improvement in fiscal year 17 to a deficiency of $200,000, then followed by break-even in fiscal year 18, and then following that generate a surplus of $100,000 in fiscal year 19. Next slide, please. Okay. So, we will now review the highlights of the audited results for the year ended September 30th, 2018. For those of you who attended the Fall Town Hall meeting, I'm happy to report that there were no material changes from the projections that we presented to you at that time. Our 2018 actual operating result was a surplus of $27,000 as compared to a planned break-even budget. This significant improvement over the prior year deficiency of $167,000, and we're happy to report that the plan for fiscal year 19 is an operating surplus of $100,000, which is consistent with the 3-year recovery plan. Joe, congratulations to you and your team for another year of continued financial improvement and progress towards a stronger and more financially sustainable business model. Now, this slide provides a graphical illustration of the relationship between membership growth on the left-hand side and operating results on the right-hand side. Again, reinforcing the importance of strong membership levels to financial sustainability. So now let's talk a bit about the bottom line results. Now remember that the difference between the operating line and the bottom line is that below the line includes other forms of revenue and expenses. These include revenue from entrance fees, monthly capital maintenance fees, the construction improvement fees, and less interest and depreciation. So for fiscal year 18, the result is a positive bottom line of $80,000 as compared to the prior year, which was $242,000. Now, the big difference in capital income is that we had lower entrance fees revenue in fiscal year 18. As we near full membership levels, there are fewer memberships available for sale. So say it another way, we increased our membership numbers at a higher rate in the prior year than in this year. So from a cash flow perspective, the club generated positive cash of about $60,000, resulting in a year-end balance of $163,000 compared to $103,000 last year. We paid down $168,000 of debt during the year on the $5 million clubhouse improvement loan, and life to date, that's $239,000. As at September 30th, 2018, our long-term debt related to that clubhouse improvement was $4.7 million. We also had $479,000 advanced of the $600,000 approved for the Cabana hot tubs and women's locker room project, and the balance will be advanced upon delivery of the Cabana. So, in conclusion, these financial results indicate continued progress towards financial sustainability, and the results are consistent with the 3-year recovery plan. Thank you for your attention and your interest.
Thanks, Kevin. So may I please have a motion to approve the financial statements for year end September 30th, 2018?
Madam Chair, I move the approval of the 2018 financial statements as presented.
Thanks, Linda. Will somebody please second that motion?
Madam Chair, I second the motion.
I think it's Renzo.
Madam Chair, I second the motion to approve the 2018 auditor financial statements.
May I have a show of hands for all in favor? All those opposed? Carried. It's now time to appoint the auditors. It's now time for the appointment of the auditors. May I please have a motion to appoint Grant Thornton as auditors for the fiscal year 2019 and to authorize the directors to fix their remuneration? Shirley?
Madam Chair, I move the appointment of
Thank you. Will someone please second the motion?
Madam Chair, I second the motion to appoint Grant Thornton as auditor.
Thank you. May I have a show of hands for all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. So we're going to talk a little bit about our retiring directors. In accordance with the bylaw of the club, the following directors will retire this year: Vince Cascone, Bruce Fleming, Paul Schultz, and myself. So first of all, I'd like to say on behalf of the club, I would like to thank them all for their dedicated service to the club, and I have a few words. Vince Cascone could not be here tonight and will present his gift at a later date, but I'd just like you to know what contributions he had to the board. So Vince, wherever you are, thank you for all your contributions to the board. We really appreciate it. Vince joined the board in 2015 and was the Director of Finance in his first year. Vince helped get the ball rolling on our 3-year plan along with Terry and the committee, which Kevin just talked about. So as you see, we're on our last year. With Vince's expertise in the strategic planning area, we then asked him to take on a new committee, which is our strategic planning committee, to revise and update the Thornhill Club strategic plan, mission, vision, and values. Vince led the committee and the board through a number of key strategic planning sessions for our mission, vision, and values. And as you know, we communicated the update to all of these this past fall. Thank you, Vince. So Vince, we appreciate all you've done for the board in the last 3 years, and we'll present you with the gift at a later date. The second retiring board member is Bruce. So Bruce, if you want to come up. Nope, I'm going to say it all. Yeah.
That's too late.
Yeah, and that's too late. So what can I say about Bruce? The one thing I've learned over the past 3 years is his true dedication to the club. The work and volunteer hours he commits is a true reflection of this. For those who do not know, Bruce has been with the club since 1997 and has served on many committees prior to joining the board in 2015. On the board, he's served as Activities Director, Greens Director, and Facilities Director. He also served on the Special Purpose Committee and will continue to serve on the Facilities Master Planning Committee. And I think everybody is aware of all the work he's done on the pool, the hot tub, and the cabana. I think we'll call it his baby. He shared the vision of these new amenities in a number of our information sessions. Bruce has done yeoman work, and the club could not have done it without him. He has saved the club many thousands of dollars as he was able to manage these projects in lieu of a project manager. Thank you for that, Bruce. I'm not done yet. I got more. Bruce also brings a lot of analytical skill to the board. He loves research too. I really think it's his secret passion. I always look forward to his feedback and perspective on whatever the topic. When you have good information, you make better decisions, and the club has benefited from this. Thank you, Bruce. I want to take this time to thank you for all you've done over the last 3 years. I'm not sure how you're going to fill your time. Maybe some more research, maybe a little golf, somewhere in between. Again, congratulations, Bruce. Thank you very much. So next on the list is Paul Schultz. Paul, if you could come up for a minute, please. So I was really happy when Paul agreed to join the board. You know, he is a long-term member of the club since 1981 and has been involved in both golf and curling for a long time, for many years. His perspective, experience, and knowledge of the club has been invaluable to the board. It's important to understand the past to be able to move forward in the future. Paul has brought valuable insight to many of the discussions, helping to make good decisions in moving the club forward. Thank you, Paul. Paul has served as the membership and Greens Director during his time on the board. He's also served on a variety of committees, including the membership committee prior to being on the board. He is a willing volunteer, and we know we can always count on Paul. I want to thank you for all you've done over the past 3 years. It has been a real pleasure to have you part of the board. And I'm not going to talk about myself, so.
Good evening, everyone. It's my real pleasure to acknowledge the efforts of our president and thank her for her dedication and service to our club. Michelle has been a tremendous member over her 22 years as a member. She has committed countless hours of service to the club, serving on the membership committee for 4 to 5 years, and she also initiated and chaired the first food and beverage committee, which has become a very active committee in our club today. Obviously, for the past 2 years, she has served as president. I can tell you that she has worked very hard. She is a hands-on president, diligent in leading the board through the past few years of rapid membership and growth towards a multi-facility, family-focused, all-seasons club, committed and passionate about overseeing the financial performance of the club, and through her leadership, combined with the efforts of management, has delivered a balanced budget and committed and delivered on our 3-year plan. She's also been instrumental in improving board communication to our membership, and overseeing the growth of effective board and governance committees as Brenda and her committee was dealing with the modernization of our bylaws, policies, and practices. Many of you will know her for her fierce competitiveness on the golf course or the curling rink, but I think it goes without saying and without dispute that in addition to the above, Michelle has always a smile and a positive attitude. Her presence in a room adds a spirit, and she has an honest willingness to listen to her fellow board members and colleagues, and I believe those have been the hallmark of her tenure. And we have greatly benefited, I can tell you, as the board with her leadership. Now, not only do we need to thank Michelle, we also need to thank Dave. Dave has allowed to share Michelle with us over the past few years. I know it's been many hours and days spent away from family time, but I think there has been good balance. I'm sure you're happy to have Michelle back to yourself, Dave, as well. And so, honestly, I do want to thank you. We want to thank you, Dave, for that sacrifice. Michelle, thank you for all your years of service.
There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you, Neil, for your kind words. Now back to the meeting. We now proceed with the election of directors. I will call on Adrian Hartog, Chair of the Nominating Committee, to present his report.
Madam Chair, as stated in the notice of meeting, there are 3 vacant directors' positions to be filled. We are nominating 3 directors to fill these positions. On behalf of the nominating committee, we nominate Maria Bassios, Renzo Marcucci, and Daniel Smith to serve on the board for the next 5 years.
Thank you, Adrian. Mr. Secretary, please advise if any nominations have been received in addition to those of the nominating committee.
There are none.
Thank you. As there are no further nominations, may I have a motion to elect Maria Gatsios, Renzo Marcuzzi, and Dan Scholes for a 3-year term to the Board of Directors?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to confirm the election of Maria Gatsios, Renzo Marcuzzi, and Daniel Scholes to the 2018-2019 Board of Directors.
Thank you. Will someone please second that motion? Terry? Thank you, Terry. May I have a show of hands, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. I declare that Maria Gatsio, Renzo Marcuzzi, and Dan Scholes have been elected as directors. I would ask that Maria, Renzo, and Dan stand to be recognized. Thank you. So the Joel Noble Award is presented each year to an aspiring junior golf member who demonstrates an honorable traditions of golf that Joe Noble epitomized. I would ask that Dr. Jeff Spodek, Chair of the Junior Committee, come forward and make the presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. As mentioned, the Joe Noble Fund is awarded annually to a junior golfer who has demonstrated keen interest in golf, has participated regularly in club events, and whose game continues to improve year after year. I, for one, did not know about Joe Noble, and David Clark, who is one of the trustees of the Joe Noble Fund, has provided a top 10 list of Joe Noble attributes. So Joe was born in 1910, raised in Port Credit, Ontario. He started as a golf caddy. He served as an assistant pro at Mississauga, Rosedale, and Galt, and he became a head professional at Galt at age 19. After the war, he served as head professional at Summit, 1946 and 1947, before moving to Thornhill for the 1948 season. He remained at Thornhill until his retirement at the end of the 1975 season, a total of 28 seasons. He then became an honorary life member and professional emeritus at Thornhill. The second hole is named Noble's Choice because it was his favorite. Joe loved teaching, and in particular loved teaching junior golfers. For most of his time at Thornhill, he ran junior clinics on Saturday mornings where aspiring young golfers not only learned the basics of the swing, but perhaps more importantly, learned about golf etiquette. Joe's most successful student was Brian Wilcox, who won the Canadian Junior Championship in 1960 and was Thornhill Men's Club champion 7 times. Joe was a gentleman. He was widely known to sports writers as Gentleman Joe, and as such was a great role model to the hundreds of junior golfers he taught over the years. As a junior chair, I am pleased to announce that this year's recipient of the Joe Noble Trust Fund Award goes to Grant Gagnon.
You can probably go to the next slide, Bruce, or Brent. So we have 2 50-year members being honored tonight who joined Thornhill in 1968. Mr. David Hondrich and Mr. William Simpson. Bill is unable to attend, so I would like to please ask David to come forward to receive your plaque and your pin. What an award. My report, which is the President's report, is included in the annual report. I would like to take a few minutes to say a few words at this time. Thornhill, in my opinion, is in a strong position to continue to grow and offer value, service, and enjoyment for its members. On the board, our board and management group is dedicated to the growth and prosperity of Thornhill. We are committed to its improvements within our operation and are confident that we will continue to improve member satisfaction levels. I want to extend my personal thanks to all of the board and committee members for their volunteer efforts, hard work, and valuable contribution to the club. Their time and expertise to enhance the stability and strength of our club is impressive. In addition, I would like to thank Joe Murphy and the senior management team and all our valued employees who have been very committed to the continuing success of Thornhill. I also want to thank our members for the I also want to thank all our members for contributing to the success of Thornhill Club. You are our #1 asset, and the board and management appreciate your feedback and your contributions to allow the club to continue to change and grow. We really want our club to be your home away from home. Lastly, I want to say that it's been a true pleasure to serve as your president over the last 2 years, and I want to thank everyone who has assisted me. I am very proud of the progress we are making and feel very confident about the future of our great club. Thank you. So I'd like to ask Joe Murphy to provide his report of the club's operations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everybody. I'll try to keep this brief. You do hear from me occasionally. Congratulations to the new board members and to the outgoing board members. And Bruce, you're not off the hook yet. Your work is not done. Okay, I'll try to keep this as brief as we can. First of all, I'd like to introduce our senior management team. I see them, they're hiding at the back of the room for some unknown reason. Could you perhaps stand and be recognized? You have John and Greg. You know who, well, John Ramsbottom, for those of you who don't know, is our sports and activities manager. We all know who Greg is. He looks after that wonderful piece of equity we have behind me. Now, is there too much ice on the course, Greg? No, okay, good. And Jason Mayle is our new controller, for those of you who perhaps don't know Jason. And Vanessa Del Bianco is our marketing and sales manager. Laura, I mean, don't hide there. And Laura Horowitz, as you know, does everything pretty well around here. And a special introduction I'd like to make is the gentleman over here to my right, and is Abhishek Sharma. He is our new executive chef. You've heard about him. We have introduced Abhishek about 2 months now. He's taken over from Tim, and we'll talk about his program in a few moments, but he is determined to make you love his food. Right, Abhishek? Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Another great year at the club, as Michelle has pointed out. You'll see some of the statistics on the screen. But what's interesting, we've had 220 new golfing members in the past 2 years. That is significant growth. We have attempted to manage that the best we can. We're not perfect at it, and we continue to improve at all times. But 220 members is a relatively large number in a short period of time. Tennis is showing promise this year with a relentless tennis committee. Boy, are they ever vicious. But they want to make sure tennis is known around here, just like curling, right? Well done to the tennis section, and to John and our new, we have a new pro, Doug Eady. Doug's not with us tonight, but he is certainly a big part of that success. Overall, the membership satisfaction survey, I thought I'd share a few highlights. You'll get more in short order when we send out the board summary. The membership satisfaction is improving overall. We'd like to see it better, but it is certainly improving. The three areas, the satisfaction, the meeting expectations, and recommending the club, which is really cool in the recommending the club, because that's a key measurement in how we measure our membership experience, how we can predict our growth going forward. Food and beverage continues to be a key area as we look at the benchmarks across other clubs. And as it states up there, it really has the greatest impact on membership satisfaction overall. We will be relentless at focusing on that this year. We're not satisfied where it stands. We know we can do better, and with changes with Abhishek and his team, Ken and his team, we will be, again, very focused on this area, as well as the Food and Beverage Committee. What I mean by those particular areas is the consistency of food delivery. That is so important. You've met our new executive chef. He is very committed to the improvements in this area. Training and development of staff, hiring good staff. We have reached out, and we take recommendations. If you know of some good people that would like to work at a great club, please, we're all ears. It is becoming increasingly difficult across all channels in our operation, not just food and beverage, but Greg has challenges getting people to work on the golf course. Todd has challenges in the back shop and in the pro shop area. So if you know of anybody who wants to work in a great environment, please, again, we'd like to hear your recommendations. High touch and hustle. What do we mean by high touch and hustle? Is speed of service has come across the survey as being pretty mediocre. We will work on that. We will do what it takes to improve that. And I mean with the chef and his team working with the front of the house team. Grab and grow improvements. That was another area in the survey that we thought we could see some improvements. Fresh, sort of like a Starbucks theme, where everything a little more selection, a little more fresh, and people are obviously in a hurry. They want something good and they want something quick. So we will deliver on that. And again, consistency and consistency. I can't stress that enough. Moving forward, we're looking at the golf quota, the Category A quota rather, is almost full. The board did move it to 400 recently from 390, and so we're almost there, around 395. But the Category B is the area that we'd like to see more growth. We have about 30 spots open. So if you're wondering what to give somebody for their birthday or Christmas coming up this year, we have Category B memberships available. Valley Course is a real winner for us. That 9-hole, it's up to 140 members now, including our Learn to Golf program, which is sold out already for the 19 season. In fact, we're trying to figure out how we can get more people into that. If Todd figures out how we can get his pros out giving more lessons, we'll be off to the races. There's no stated quota for our Clubhouse Active members, which is our non-golf. It's just you use everything in the clubhouse, from fitness to tennis to curling and so on. We have about 150 in this category. We'd like to get to 300. Where we see the most growth in this area is really spouses of members, as well as curling or seasonal curling and seasonal tennis members that have opted up. Our family programming, we're seeing a lot more interest in spouses asking about our spousal programs and our golf programs, as well as the fitness programs. So again, we're seeing a lot more increase in activity, especially with the addition of the pool. Fitness. For all of you, does everybody here know where the fitness is? I'm just curious. Glenn, we know you know where the fitness is. It's showing significant increase in usage. We're up to 475 people. Now, about 370 are golfers, which is really the spirit of it, was to get the golfers using the fitness facility. It was, after all, it was you guys who voted for it, right? So that's up from 175 people about 2.5 years ago. So that's 300 plus users more than we had 2 years ago. Yoga and Pilates are probably most popular in the wellness, I guess called the classes. We'd like to see a little more usage there. I know people have said, look, your programs are limited, but again, we'll offer more programs if there is more interest. The spin bikes have taken off. And I know, Adrian, we see you out every single Saturday morning. That's why you were jumping up and down earlier, because I know you're ready to go. Personal training is on the rise. Many of you know Jeff Hammond. Well, Jeff isn't the only personal trainer, but boy, ever since he's gone up there, he does almost 100 personal training sessions a month. So it's really taking off, and it's great to see that you're supportive and participating in that area. Tennis, we've already talked about tennis. We're up to almost 150 tennis members, not just like they're golf members as well. We had 17 new seasonal members join this past year, and about 30 joined from other areas of the club, so that's great to see. We already mentioned Doug Eady as our professional, so we'll see bigger things to come this year. Building on the curling program, very active. For those of you who curl or those of you who don't curl, you're certainly welcome to come and curl at our fine, does everybody know where the curling area is down here? There is a lot of fun in curling. You see a lot of the evening draws, plenty of bonspiel activity. We were able to attract a number of members from Weston and Scarborough, especially Weston, in this past year as they eliminated their curling section. Junior and bantam curling programs are seeing an increase. And what's really seeing an increase is outside ice rentals. People are having fun, like corporate ice rentals. I mean, Laura, we're getting more and more of those billed all the time, so it's great to see, as long as somebody doesn't break their neck. Sorry, okay. I didn't say that out loud. Okay. Now the pool. Bruce, this is where you come in. The pool received very high satisfaction ratings. We were very, very happy to see that. It was a big hit with the summer camp and the children's activity. We will have a full slate of adult and family swim programs this year. It will open on the date it's supposed to open this year. We do apologize for the delays in the cabana. We've, without getting into a lot of detail, we've had some real challenges with permitting, and now with with some of the last part of the building itself. We will sort this out, and we in fact will have a cabana this year, right, Bruce? Okay. Yeah. Our environmentally friendly program. We talk a lot about that in our social responsibilities, but our new chef is again very focused on environmentally friendly endeavors with Greg, and the gardens are getting bigger and bigger out by the 16th hole, in case you're wondering where they were, with the beehives and all the maple syrup as well. Greg continues to use part of the course for all the vegetables near that area. We call it Fairway to Table experience now. Farm to table, well, we're not a farm. We're Fairway. We continue to promote our club for outside events. We just had a presence at the wedding show about a week and a half ago, and hopefully that will yield some good activity for us. Our summer social events and fall, that Food, Wine, and Sacks, I said Sacks, it was an excellent evening. We had about 120 people here. It was outstanding, and we'll certainly capitalize on that. As part of our facilities master planning, now we don't comment on that a lot today because Darren Thompson's not here. He chairs this, but they're well underway. We just recently had focus groups right across all demographics and I would say membership categories and genders. And it's amazing that one area, we talk about future plans for a member-centric year-round social space. That was the #1 thing coming out of the focus groups, that members want to see an area in this club where they can use year-round and a little more casual, a little more fun. So great to hear that. You'll hear more from it through something called a Pulse survey, which we'll have coming out in the near future. Madam Chair, that ends my report. I got in here just before 8 o'clock. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. You're taller than me. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. So if there's any questions or comments from the members before we end the meeting for tonight, please proceed to the microphone if you have any questions for any of us or the senior management team. No questions? So, okay, that's great. May I please have a motion from the floor to terminate the meeting? Will someone please second that motion?
Madam Chair, I second the motion to terminate the meeting.
May I have a show of hands of all in favor? Anybody opposed to terminating? No. Carried. Thank you. I declare the 2018 annual general meeting is now at an end. But before I have one more thing. The new board is going to have a brief meeting to elect the new president and officers. I would ask that you remain for a few moments and we'll be introducing the new president shortly. Thank you.